All right, we are back for another week of Too Cool for School. Keen, let's go ahead and do a bird check.
Okay.
There we go.
Is
The
it
bird's
working?
working.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The
Good.
bird is working. Everything is good in the world. It's been a great week of StarCraft. I think tonight what we're gonna go over is we're gonna look at last week. Last week was really fun. We got to showcase this new format. We got to see how tight the scores were, and I think that there were some matches that we had done some predictions on that may not have gone exactly how we anticipated. So we'll look at that. We'll also look at this week, and we are not very deep in the games for this week, so we have the opportunity to do a little bit more predictions for the matches that are going to occur over the next several days, and talk a little bit about the matchups, how going from week one into week two may change some of the strategies, etc. So that'll be a good time. And I think with that and some predictions, that should take us to about an hour, and we should have a nice little show ahead of us. But before we dive into that, what I do want to do is a couple of things. One, again, I just wanted to thank everyone that does support StarCraft Underground through especially Prime subs. Like those that's what funds all of the money tournaments, the bounty matches. It's extremely helpful, and it really attracts, I think, the higher tier level players. And eventually, if this continues to grow, it will all continue to be put towards StarCraft Underground and the players first and foremost. And then the second thing is because the server, we've changed a little bit about how announcements go out. The server was very ping heavy. We dialed back on the pings and made roles a little bit more specific. But because of that, not everyone always gets all the information. So I think that this is also a pretty good venue to just double tap some announcements. And so the one announcement I wanted to bring up that occurred since the last time we met was the SKU Bucks. So SKU Bucks have been getting awarded during our SKU brackets. And that's the primary method that players are able to build funds for their teams outside of just the normal league performance, and that sets them up for the draft going into the future seasons, etc. What I did do though is I made it so that we're mitigating the risk of really good players promoting to like level 2, level 3, and then demoting after hitting that level, signing up for a bunch of brackets, doing very well in those at the lower level, and then re-promoting and kind of cycling through that and earning a lot of bucks, right? So that was a risk, and it was something that players had pointed out, and I think that it makes sense that we made a little bit of a change. So whenever a player shows up on the leaderboard for getting SKU bucks, if they have already promoted to the next higher level, then they're not going to be able to collect those SKU bucks for their team. And I think that's fair, right? If you demote and promote, you'll be able to do that once while you sign up for all those lower level tournaments and still be able to cash out. And I think that's fair
Mhm.
because we have a lot of players that are on that threshold, right? Especially level 1, level 2. Like that's a very turbulent
Yeah.
section, right? So anyway, that's been implemented. And if you're seeing it in the server, I am putting little notes next to it like, hey, nothing collected as this player's already been promoted. However, I also just wanted to point out it's still very good to continue doing that and playing and participating and taking those slots because even if you're not collecting the SKU bucks, it doesn't trickle down, right? Like the next placement isn't filling your slot, it's just not being awarded. So you can still deny SKU bucks, and that's still a powerful tool for a team. What are your thoughts, Keen, on that update?
Yeah, I think that's a good update. I think yeah, like Wolfix and Exit were like salty because I got knocked down and they're like, oh, he's just going to like farm level 2 brackets again. So I think that's a good solution. Um yeah, and I think it's good for like the level 1 too. There's like a ton of really good players finally signing up for the level 1s. So, you know, as they're going through, they won't be farming a ton of SKU bucks just because the tournaments take a while, right?
Yeah.
The tournaments usually take like at least probably like 3 4 weeks
Oh yeah,
to
that's a fast
kind of.
one. I mean, it's 6 rounds, right? So it can be up to 6 weeks.
So you could end up just being in like limbo where you get promoted and but you're still in like 5 brackets or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And Hazard, you bring up a good point, right? You could see it resulting in lower bucks in the economy than last season, which might make it challenging to afford draft players unless they're compensated. There's a couple counterpoints to this. The first counterpoint is that in season one, we started Scubucks when we started Skull, and so for the first 6 weeks, 5 weeks of season one, there was no Scubucks being awarded. Like all the Scubucks that were awarded in season one happened from a very short time frame. You contrast that to season two, where even during the off season, players were earning bucks. We've already injected, if not close to, maybe even more than we did during season one with the awards that have already gone out. So I don't think that that's going to be too much of an issue. It may level out over time, um, but I'll keep an eye on that. That's a good point. The compensation, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on this, but with the salaries for the players and those increasing season over season, the intent isn't to be able to afford everybody. Right? It's almost kind of it's a strategy mechanism and an economy balancing mechanism. If you run into a situation where you can't afford your whole team, and how it looks after that, and being able to bring prices down to where it all makes sense. But yeah, very good point, and definitely something that captains have to keep an eye on. Very cool. Okay, so I want to go into some of the StarCraft that happened last week. And if you haven't been watching, I have done a couple casts. I've captured a few of the matches. I've done two parts, I think. And both times I ended a little bit shorter than I anticipated. But there's been at least, I think, 6 series that have gone up from week one, and they were really fun. So if you haven't watched those, make sure you go ahead and check them out. But I also want to take a look at the scores and talk about the format and the first impressions that you have, Keen, as a player, and gauge kind of what you expected from week one to what occurred in week one. And then we'll talk about week two. So let's go ahead and go and look at that. Damn it! I always end up on the freaking beach. Hey, there we go. The water's
No
calling
problem.
for me. It wants the man shark and the seagull. It's like our natural habitat, right? And I also like how close we are, right? I can like almost wrap my arm around you if I had this figured out.
Aw.
All right, buddy. So let's take a look here. Let's take a gander at how week one went. Week one, what were your expectations, and how did it end up? And were those two things different, Keen?
So from the get-go, I figured Legion versus Savage was going to be pretty close. I I was still like holding out hope that we would win, obviously. Um, it's not too disappointing of a result because it was incredibly close. And we can just blame Nomad for that. I'm totally okay with putting all the burden on Nomad.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
why is this? I'm sorry. You're talking and I'm like accidentally moving the screen everywhere. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. Um, I think we discussed it a little bit last week, but Father is kind of like a TVP specialist. Like it's by far his strongest matchup, so I'm not like super surprised. Um, but yeah, and we'll talk about the week two result as well, obviously. But yeah, I'm expecting it to be pretty even for them going forward. After this loss, McTarren, they're just straight up like I guess Legion drafted Father in the first spot again, and McTarren just pinged Nomad. He's like, "Hey, you want a rematch?" He's like, "Hell yeah!"
It's like, hell yeah, bring me back in.
Y-
No, that's a great point. And I think we can actually look at that right now because you hit that right off the bat, right? So Father versus Nomad, we were a little unsure when we were doing predictions on what this match would look like, but we knew it was going to be a good one. And it turned out Father got the W, 2-1. But if we go up here on the website, we go to round two. Well, look, we've got a rematch, ladies and gentlemen. And this time Nomad took it 2-1. And so I'm curious to see what changed. I might do a rewatch of Father versus Nomad from week one and then compare it to week two because I did cast these. So if you want to go back and check them out, the Father versus Nomad games were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun. But yeah, it's I think we're getting a little bit of a rivalry here as Savage and Legion kind of bounce off each other. And I also want to point out that this can't happen for a week three, right? So Legion and Savage faced off week one. They faced off week two. Week three, they're not going to see each other, right? Each of them are going to be facing off against a combination of Chaos and Unhinged. So we're not going to see them fight again. At least I think that's the case. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is the case. We're not going to see them fight again until week 4. And so I'm wondering if that week difference, they're going to anticipate facing each other and build up some spice. But that's just a little bit of storyline with Father and Nomad. There was a lot of other stuff that went down here in round 1. Anything jump out at you?
Yeah, I think I was a little unsure about Mazer versus Pandora. I don't really know Mazer that well, but I know he's a solid player, so it was quite the relief to see 2-0 from him. Um, Wario against New Ocean, not too surprising to me. Um, Obviously, I wasn't surprised to win my match. And yeah, I think I was a lot of the lower players on this list are kind of like unknown entities for me. So, um, kind of a bummer that we dropped like all those games. That might be something we should like look at as a team and try to help our lower level players a little more and get them like set up with builds and just practice in general, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But nothing too surprising.
No, that's a great point that you bring up too about the lower level being a focus, right? Like this season is all about depth. With kind of the bonus points are here, but like if you sweep the top, that's 9 map wins, right?
Hmm.
Um, there's 14 available in the lower levels, right? Champion's saying that he's trying to practice, but no one ever answers him. So you'll have to take that up with Keen and the rest of your team, Champion.
Well,
Um,
I can start corralling people, but I don't play very much, so I'm sorry about that. I
There you
can't.
go. You're one of those people that just never has to play, and then you show up and get some W's and go back to living life. No, yeah, this was an interesting upset. The Legion Savage 14-12, coming off of, the championship match in season 1 where Savage was able to beat Legion, um, is a little bit of a different expectation, I would say. And then you go over here in Savage beating Chaos 16-11. That's not a domination, right? Like you look at a lot of these, and if you remove the bonus points, that's only a 13-11 win. And we didn't mention it, and I kind of want to backtrack a little bit before we continue to dive in on these individual matchups. The end result for week 1 was 28 map wins, 27, 26, and 25. So in the standings might be a little bit messed up right now, but let me double check. Yeah. So it still is just reflecting round 1, right? So the score was Savage at 28, Chaos upsetting Legion and stealing that number 2 seed at 27 map wins, 26 map wins for Legion, 25 map wins for Unhinged, and every single team won one of their matchups and lost one of their matchups. What do you think about
Yeah,
this? Was this what you
yeah.
expected?
Well, no, not really. I was thinking there would definitely be. I mean, I was assuming we would win both, of course, but yeah, it's insane how close it is. I mean, the fact that the final scores are in sequential order is kind of just nuts. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's a sign that it's kind of working as intended, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no clear front runner right now.
At least from a 1 week, right? We got 6 weeks of this round robin, but after 1 week, this
Yeah,
was definitely an indicator of health. One, we hit all the roster slots. Two, the scores ended very, very tight. There was also something interesting about this that I want to point out. The bonus points matter, right? Savage ended up with the number 1 seed by 1 map win, but they actually lost more series than Chaos and Legion. So Legion's series records were 11-9 each. Savage was 10-10. They had a 50% Escalade. I love you. Thank you. Had a 50% series win rate. So I thought that this is just so cool to me the way it ended. I did not expect it to go that well.
yeah, yeah, for sure. We, I don't know if you want to talk about this yet, but we did see some walkovers in week 2 already, so that's a little unfortunate.
Let's go through
Maybe
week
teams.
1, and then we'll
Okay,
hit week
sorry.
2. No, you're good. You're really good. And Sharkir is so distracting. Moving those hips, like they really don't lie, And Escalade asks, when are we getting married? When will you propose to me? Well, don't want to ruin any surprises, Esk. Besides, you're not getting citizenship that easily. All right, but I might need your citizenship. So yeah, it might be sooner than later. Looking here, we know the final scores. We talked a little bit about Savage and Legion. Savage Chaos. Anything jump out here to you?
Okay, so it was much to my delight that I grasped 2-0 Tim, which is like he's really punching above his weight there. It is PvP, and so kind of like there could be build order wins and so on, but yeah, I thought Grass was for sure going to lose that series because Tim is like their premier player, really. Um,
Yeah,
Sony,
I didn't know what to expect. So like this was one of those things that we were discussing in our predictions too. Is Tim's got legend power, right? Like, and I was bringing it up. I was like, Tim is just this myth to me. Like, I know who
mhm.
he is, right? But all I think of is that wizard named Tim in like Monty Python, right? So he's just this weird mythical wizard named Tim who's apparently really, really good StarCraft. Do you know? Do you happen to know? Is there any inside information? Like, did Grass like grind or practice for this matchup a bunch of PvP in house, or is there no information and this is just we're
um,
having to look at this?
yeah, he said in our team chat that he was like preparing some builds, and I it sounded like they're kind of like a little cheesy offbeat. So I think he like actually just caught Tim off guard 2 games in a row.
Mm, gotcha. Well, we did cast those, so if you want to catch up on that, make sure to check it out. They were a good time. What else? What else here with Savage and Chaos? Because it was tighter
So
than expected.
yeah, I if Sony is watching, I'm sorry. I talked to Sony about his match against Killa. I forget if it was finished already before last week, but so this might be retreading old stories. But like, I feel like Killa has, he has an extremely unique style, and I kind of like I walked Sony through how to like play against Killa and the way I think is best, but it sounds like he lost the first game and then he kind of just got flustered and just like I think he said he 9 pool speed Ling All-ins Killa, which
Mm.
is like really bad against his style actually. Like
Because Kill is
his
a
whole
really
style,
safe, turtley, kill you in the late game, right?
yeah, his whole style is basically meant to like not die to that essentially. So,
No, I want to check
um,
something too. I want to see how long their replays were. So if we go here, 25-minute ZVZ on Neo Self-Ed. How about game number two? All right, 4 minutes. All right, all right.
yeah,
But that first one, whenever I see a Killa Ace match, I know it's going to be long. Even ZVZ, 25 minutes is like an eternity in ZVZ.
yeah, which it sucks because like personally I don't really care for ZVZ very much, and I've always said like the best part about ZVZ is that it's usually over quickly.
Yeah. You don't have to
What's up?
endure it for too long. What's up? What's up? Who do we got here?
What's up, guys? What are you guys doing?
Who
Oh, we're
who is
doing
this? Oh, what's up,
this
G5?
is we're doing a
What's up?
little like
Yeah,
podcast for STU.
yeah, you can jump in if you want. But yeah, Keenan and I host Too Cool for School, and we do it every week. So we're live on Twitch right now, and yeah, I
Oh,
threw it in here because I'm not against people jumping in if they have opinions or things they want to bring up. So we're
Do you
going
want
over
to
last week.
while we got you here, do you want to talk about your match potentially, or like your thoughts on Unhinged and what your team is like?
all right.
Yeah.
Sure. Fuck it. Why not? All right. Uh, yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, what I want to know is one, you're new to Skull. We
Yeah.
had the first week. You're entering the league with the website, and you weren't alone in that, right? We got a lot of high level players, such as yourself, and your opponent Mars. So when you showed up and you got thrown into this, and you got paired up with Unhinged, and you found out that your opponent was Mars, how was the feel of the league? Like, were you? And then secondary to that, how did you feel about going up against Mars? Do you play against him much? Do you feel particularly confident in PvT? Those kinds of things.
Yeah. I mean, any pro house who doesn't fucking like PvT is got something wrong with you.
Not doing it right.
Like, yeah. If you're gonna bitch about a matchup, it's gonna be against Zerg. Like, you can't be bitching about Terran. That's the easy matchup you get. So if you bitch about that, you're just bitching about everything. So you know. But no, I played Mars and BWCL. I played them in like a tier up in Discord we're in recently. Like played them a lot recently. So I'm friends with them.
Is this usually the record, the 2-0 that you got this week?
We split. We go pretty 50-50. I don't know.
Awesome.
Like uh our last matches, I beat him. I first beat him 3-1 in our tier up. Then he beat me in BWCL 2-1, and then 2-0 there. But they're all pretty close.
Very cool. Well, they were fun matches to watch. I know we casted those, so if anyone wants to catch up on those, make sure to check out the Twitch as well. I do want to backtrack up just a little bit. So good to have you here, G5. Keen and I are going to keep going on. If anything jumps out, please feel free to jump in. But we were talking Savage versus Chaos. Was there any other matches here that were a little bit of a surprise? Because we were talking about Sony versus Killa. Did the ZVZ. Sony got flustered, had a long game one, then went into a short game two. What about any of these other ones? And I'm kind of scrubbing through here, and there's a lot of 2-1s, but I'm not really sure
Um,
about much of these matchups.
yeah. So the only one here that really surprises me is Harry versus Firetip, because like nothing against Firetip, I just think Harry is pretty solid, like a pretty solid like B rank Protoss, and I felt like Firetip was a level below that, but maybe that was just our karma for getting the 2-0 over Tim.
What's the MVP icon?
Yeah, so if you're new to the website, at the end of season one, we gave awards. There was an award ceremony, right? And so the MVPs were players that went undefeated in season one for all their matchups. There's other ones like Keen got the Cash Cow Award. He earned the most SCU bucks in the league during season one. You'll see a lot of these Iron Man awards. These are individuals that played every single week in the season. And then there's a few others, like Nivane got Rules Lawyer because he argued with me all the time. And then there's a few others. There's like Pain in the Ass Award right here because Mevius is a pain in the ass.
The
Um,
website's really impressive, by the way. For a
yeah,
StarCraft website.
Champion made it. Champion made it.
Yeah, good. Static as MVP, so he went undefeated.
Yeah, Static went undefeated last season,
Oh,
and he's keeping that going on. He beat
I'm playing.
Jedi.
I'm playing him. I'm playing him this week. So,
Oh, awesome! How you feel about it?
well, worse now.
Well, I
I
don't know.
mean,
Yeah, you played Mars.
before I felt fine. I'm like, I've never even heard of him. But if he's fucking, you don't lose.
You know, fun fact: no one had heard of Static. So Static showed up season one in the Discord, and no one knew who he was. And so he was picked up like relatively cheap towards the end of the draft, and then turns out he's just an absolute powerhouse who's just crushing anyone that gets paired against him. So yeah, I would practice some PvP, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it was like just totally out of left field that this player we got for like $10 or something turned out to be like an A rank Protoss.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
guess
there you
he's just like one of those guys that doesn't like interact with the community that much, which makes me wonder how he found out about this league in the first place. Honestly,
I posted it on Reddit. You know, it was in CPL.
uh,
A couple opportunities. Escalade. Damn, dude, the Shakira. Um, what else is jumping out at you? I think that pretty much covers this one. Wagukin losing a map to I'm Slow. Mevius taking out Arcade. Is that an upset?
I don't think so. Arcade is in graduate school right now. I'm
Mm,
so he's pretty busy. I don't think he's playing very much StarCraft clearly.
gotcha. And then Rice Hat beating 10P, I think makes sense, and Shimmer over Badger as well. So I think that kind of covers it. Savage had a strong week, obviously going into week two as seed one. I want to take a look at a couple of these other ones because there were a couple fun
Did
matchups
Tim
here.
lose? Tim lost 0-2.
Yeah, we talked about that right before you jumped in.
Yeah,
Grass
That's
beat
also.
him 2-0 last week.
it's a,
Then again, it's PvP. Like
yeah,
PvP is a crapshoot sometimes.
but it's still
Yeah.
impressive to have a like kind of a B rank Protoss taking down what at least used to be an S rank Protoss.
Dude, fucking happens. I lost to McRib in one of those fucking level one ones. I lost a
Dang.
game to him. I was just like, all
Fair
right.
enough. Hey, McGrib's good. He's been on
Happens.
the grind. So looking here, Chaos versus Unhinged. So the first thing I want to point out is how well Unhinged did overall, right? Coming out of seed 4, they had a kind of rough finals bracket in season 1. Coming into this, still being 4th seed after round 1, but only by a couple map wins, right? They had 25 as 4th seed, 28 is Savage in 1st seed. So overall, they had a very, very strong first week in the season. But they didn't have to play Savage, right? They played Chaos and they played Legion. And up against Chaos, there was a few matches in here that I was curious about your guys' takes. Remap versus Nesh. Nesh beating Remap 2-1. Was that expected?
No.
Um, so I think Remap is generally like when he's playing at his tippity top, he's a little bit better than Nash. They're not too far apart,
They're
but
not too far apart. Yeah.
Remap has been inactive, or not inactive. I'm sorry. He's been in like a bad slump lately.
Mm,
Yeah, he. I don't think he's been getting enough sleep. He's just been busy with like work and kids and
just
stuff.
life
So
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
happens. Actually, come to think about it, I think we talked about this one last week. Bayagster versus Sklur. Bayagster, I didn't know Bayagster. Apparently, other people did. Um, I think this was expected, right? But Sklur did take a map off of him.
hmm Yeah, I don't know too much about Skler. I remember people in the last CPL season talking about how he was like an up and comer and so on, but people seem to be like
Well,
really impressed with Bayagster too. So I was definitely expecting him to win. Wolfix versus Mutiler. I don't think anyone's
yeah.
surprised by that. No offense to Mutiler.
No. You know what's interesting though, looking at Hinge, like just being on there, like I'm friends with Nash, I'm friends with Wolfix, I'm friends with Exit. Like everyone's pretty motivated to like do well that I know on Unhinged. So like and the top players did pretty well, but look at all look at all the lower ones, like bottom
Yeah,
five, bottom everyone lost. Like we have no depth really.
Yeah, it was kind of the same with Savage in our first matchup last week, where like almost all of our lower level players lost. So yeah, I was saying like maybe we should try to start like whipping them into shape or something and treating it like kind of a CPL team
CPO.
situation where they get some coaching or we work build orders out with them or something. Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
Unhinged
they
as
haven't.
well. We kind of discussed this in the off season, and I think we saw it a little bit in the draft, right? So there's a few things that were going against Unhinged. One, the way we did the first draft, right? I'm not going to go in detail G5 on how it was, but basically we had a different way of drafting that was a little bit funky. So they didn't win the draft in season one, right? I think that was just kind of clear. The problem with this league, and it's still being figured out, was what are the comeback mechanics that exist for a team, right? And so Unhinged is kind of going through a little bit of a rebuild phase, and I think the strategy going into season two was start filling out the top slots, right? Like if they had a choice, let's get some of the big players, right? The G yourself, right? G5, let's pick you up. Let's pick up Dentarg was already around, but let's pick up some of these other big players like Exit, right? Who we don't see in week one, but is going to make an appearance in week two, to try to at least be able to put up a fighting chance in these upper bracket matches. Because I think, last season Wolfix did a lot of the weight pulling, Nesh as well. But I think you're right. Like I think Unhinged is going through a little bit of a rebuild phase, and so I'm even more impressed by the record in week one because of that. Even looking at
Yeah.
these losses, right? Like you guys still put up a hell of a fight and took a game off of Legion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going in down the list, looking at AOT and Nevane, that was a really fun matchup. I did cast that one 2-1 in favor of Art of Turtle. Which honestly, this one was one that we didn't know which way it would go. But I think AOT's starting to grind again a little bit. I think he's putting in a little bit more practice recently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when he's active, he's pretty good.
I think when he's active, he should be like a clear favorite over Navane. I don't have a really strong handle on Navane's skill level to be honest, but I'm pretty sure he's like C rank. So
Yeah, solid player for sure. And then we did. I think it's unfortunate, but the Radleyong Kid Buu they did unfortunately have to do a walkover based on scheduling. Um, but I think this would have been actually a really good match. Probably still would have gone in favor of Radleyong. But do we think Kid Buu could probably take a map off him?
I don't really know anything about Kid Buu, but I think Radley is one of their stronger players. I would guess that the answer would be no. So honestly,
Okay.
I don't think the walkover really matters that much in that case.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out that I think is really cool is Mr. Peanut Butter is doing full on random. So in his games against Nightcat, he showed up and he was, I think it was Terran Zerg. Yeah, I
kind
won't
of
waste everyone's
unfortunate for
time.
him because like playing against a Terran isn't the ideal thing for a random player because Terran can kind of just do like normal builds.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like on the receiving end, as someone at Nightcat skill level, right? Like me and Nightcat, I think are pretty close in skill level. Um, and facing a random is always just kind of a weird thing. But you're right.
Mm,
Terran can always, they can always just gasless expand, or they can always factory expand, and they have options regardless of who they're facing, and they'll know by that point in the game who they're facing. Who would you prefer to go
yeah,
random against? Protoss? Because I mean,
uh,
PVZ, PVT are very different for Protoss.
I think Protoss is probably the ideal opponent for a random player, but it's also really awkward for Zerg against random
Mm, yeah, I
because it's
believe that.
like you can like every build that you can do has drawbacks. Like you could 12 hatch, but um, then if you're against Protoss, it might be hard to defend a cannon rush, or if you're against Zerg, you might just die to it in 9 pool. But if you like pool
Yeah.
first, if you're pool first, then it's like really awkward because like if you're against Zerg, you're going to want to like 9 pool gas or like over pool gas, but you can't really do
Isn't
that either because if you do that against Protoss or Terran, you're kind of fucked a little bit.
you don't think Terran's the best against random?
I think Terran is the best, yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're saying
Oh,
who's the
okay.
worst against random. Like, if
Oh,
you're random, who do you want to go random against? Because you're not just
okay.
for awareness. The rules of race picking in Skull is you can be whatever race you want each week, but you got to be consistent throughout the series, right? So
Yeah.
if Mr. Peanut Butter, let's say he mains Protoss, right? Maybe he pulls out the random against a Protoss opponent as opposed to against a Terran opponent. Anyway, that was cool. I think he's doing it again this week. He's facing IJ, and I think that'll be a really fun time. IJ is also capable of playing random at this level, and so I think if we got a random versus random, that'd be a lot of fun because it's not honest random. Like he's not saying what he is. He's playing it out legitimately. All right, going
I
into
would
the
always
last. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I would always suspect that if my opponent told me their race is random, they were lying.
Yeah, never believe him. Never trust a random player. That's what Mom always said. So Unhinged versus Legion. Unhinged, this felt a little bit like an upset. And I think if we look at it, there's a couple factors here. One, Legion was balancing players against Savage as well as Unhinged. And I think this is a factor here that may be playing into Unhinged's record for week one. The fact that both their opponents had to face off against the Boogeyman in week one. But that's kind of a cool thing. Looking at this, right? G5, we already talked about that versus Mars. Dentarg 2-1 over GG no re. Is that what we were thinking would occur on this one?
Yeah, I feel like they're both kind of like. I think GG Nori is like low A, and I think Dentard kind of like fluctuates between like high B, low A. So that's PVT for you. I feel like it's not too surprising.
Gotcha. Kiko Cube. This one was expected, right?
Yeah, Kiko's really solid. Yakub has pulled off some good PVT wins. It's like his best matchup, but
Yeah, he's kind of a
I
sniper
think
in that sense.
Kiko is a really good player. So
Yeah, and I think looking at it, right? If I'm not mistaken, Unhinged placed G5 first, so Mars was the response, then GG no re. So Unhinged put Dentarg against GG no re, then put Kiko, and having that strong Terran, Legion's strategy, placing Yakub against him, makes a lot of sense because, like you said, Yakub is kind of a PVT specialist in his own right. Hacker J taking a map off Javi. I don't know Hacker J
um,
that well. I kind of feel like Javi might have 2-0'd this.
I think people were saying that Hacker J is like a StarCraft 2 player or something, and he's been like improving a lot.
I know it's 9K for sure.
I think it also applies to Hacker.
Mm.
I played him. I think he's like C rank right now. So Javi beat me before, so I'm just going to say like, yeah, of course Javi should win. Like Javi must be really good, right?
That's the litmus test, right? Can they beat Keen? That's the "Are you good or are you not good" line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, 9K, I guess you mentioned that he's also from the StarCraft 2 community, and they got that grind set or whatever. That and it seems like they learn pretty quickly. That there is a little bit of legacy skill between the two games. So not too surprising result. I'll be interested to see how he does going forward. Um, and
For
then
sure.
yeah, for the last five matchups, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's like really hard for me to gauge people's skill when they're at lower
This is
levels
where
like
I
that. I
come in.
feel like
This is where I come in, Keen.
okay.
You know the top players. I know these players. I think all of these make complete sense with the exception of Gallons versus Mini Renek. This one I would have probably picked Gallons as the favorite. With Mini Renek maybe taking a map, but Mini Renek going 2-0, I think is a little bit unexpected here. Um, I didn't stream this one. I don't remember if I watched it, but I do know Mini Renek does a lot of DT stuff. And so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the first game, or even really the second game, there was some sort of gotcha win with DTs. I would not be surprised if that was the case. But
Hmm.
yeah, that kind of sums up week one. Any other thoughts on week one before we kind of look at week two briefly?
No, I'm good.
Cool, cool. Looking at round two. All right, so we already have some matches in the books. I want to take a look at those real quick, see if there's any upsets. And then I just want to pick a couple of matchups that are kind of popping out and see what your thoughts are. And that'll probably take us to time and we'll call it good. Looking at Savage versus Legion, we're already at 5-5, which doesn't add up. I have no idea where those numbers are coming from because this is 3, 4,
Yeah, that's
and
weird.
3.
On my screen, it's 4-3.
Let me refresh real quick. There it is. Mebius and McRib just finished their match. I was actually
Oh,
watching
wow.
this before I jumped in to do this cast. So it turns out McRib's won. Very cool. Okay, so we'll start at the
Hmm.
top. We know Nomad and Father. We got this rivalry going 2 weeks back to back, opposite records. Very cool for them. I think we already talked this. Looking here, we
Hmm.
saw G5 beat Mars last week. I don't know if G5 is still in here. I'm not looking at the Discord, but where are you in skill level to Mazer, or do you know? He might be gone. So, do we think Mars is going to be able to? Is this going to be a repeat TVP situation to last week, or do we think Mars has a chance here?
This is really hard because I think Mars is a really good. Um, Not that Pandora is bad by any means. He's also really good. Mars has been playing a lot though, and he's kind of like he took a long break, so I feel like he's de-resting. Um, I would like to say I'm gonna give my teammate Mazer the benefit of the doubt here and say maybe he'll take it 2-1 or something, but honestly, I think it could go either way.
This should be a good one. We'll keep an eye out for it. Fact or Sony versus Pandora.
Yeah. Oh, just for context, by the way, FT Act was like an old school clan on
Oh, really?
FC for a little while, so that's why he has that name.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah. Apparently, he's been around for forever since the dawn of time. So.
yeah. Pandor, I think, is definitely a better player than Sony, but the thing that Sony has up his sleeve is that I think Pandora is weakest against unorthodox builds, and that's kind of all that Sony does are
Mm.
unorthodox builds. So I haven't talked to him about what his thoughts are yet this week on his matchup or like what his plans are, but I think there's definitely a chance for an upset, or I at least wouldn't be surprised at him taking like a game off of Pandora.
Well, it'll definitely be good because right now the series between these two teams is evened up at 5-5. So these top matches, as we've seen, do dictate a lot of the map wins. So we'll have to see. Grass versus Sticks. Grass is on fire, taking out Tim last
Mhm.
week. I think
Yeah,
he's probably favored here against Sticks.
I would say he's the clear favorite. I don't really know Styx' skill level that well, but um, I think Graston is going to take it 2-0.
Okay. Then we just have some of these other matches. We have our sacrificial lamb at Ed and Eddie over here. I'd like to point that out. He's our man. That's a dope ass award. Uh, and then We already have Mevius versus McRib. Honestly, so I want to talk these ones a little bit. This one I would not have known which way to go. I think that this is a really good match, and I'll probably cast it because it's just a very even matchup. And so McRib ended up taking that one 2-1. Viadia versus Noob Tier. This is another one that I think is a pretty even matchup. It does look like Viadia took that one. And then looking here, it looks like Savage's captain McTarren threw himself against Maniac. Probably favor McTarren. But overall, I think that this is actually going to be a pretty tight week for Savage Legion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go over here and look at some of these upper matchups and lower matchups for Legion versus Chaos. So last week, Legion faced off against Unhinged and Savage. This week, they're facing Savage and Chaos. And so they're facing each other for the first time this season. We've got Yakub versus Jedi. This one I don't know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think this is a hard one, and I also think this could go either way. But I think Jedi one is maybe just like slightly better overall than YouTube. But again, it's PvP, so really anything can happen. I don't really know how to predict this really, but YouTube is a buddy of mine, so I'm gonna say he wins 2-1.
Fair enough. Hey, when in doubt, pick your buddies. And again, I like to point this out, but Chaos had the higher seed, right, in this situation. So Legion actually put Yakub first. So Chaos must feel confident in Jedi as well. I don't know. I know a lot of teams, they'll reach out like when they're doing the team draft and they'll be like, hey, who can take Yakub, right? And someone might come up and be like, throw me in. I got him. That might have happened here, right? So I wonder if Jedi has some sort of strategy, and then Chaos throws remap out and Legion responds with GG no re and saves Mars to face Mazer. And so this is interesting to me. Because do we think GG No Re can take Remap? I know you've been mentioning Remap's maybe not playing up to his peak at the moment. And GG No Re's been doing pretty good.
Yeah, so Remap isn't he is slumping, but I think even in a slumping form, I think he's the clear favorite against Gigi Nori. I would be very surprised if Gigi Nori beat Remap in a best of three. I mean, maybe I could see him taking a game, but even that I'm a little skeptical of. I would say probably 2-0 for Remap.
Okay, got it. So that kind of puts Legion in favor when we incorporate the Tom versus Kill Ace. Tom beating Kill Ace 2-1. That's pretty impressive considering we were just talking about Kill Ace versus Sony, right? Kill Ace was able to 2-0 him in a ZVZ. Kill Ace has to face a ZVZ again, but Tom this time takes him down. But it does look like Kill Ace did snag a win off of him. Tom's very solid. I think I probably would have predicted this. I don't know. I've just had my ass beat so many times by Tom. I just might be elevating his skill level here. But is this a surprise?
I think Tom is a better player. I think Tom is like solid, maybe like mid to high B rank. And that's probably what carried him. Like, I don't know how much he prepared. But Killa is just a little, like a level below him, you know?
Gotcha. Okay, so this one makes sense. Killa snagging a map win is a good thing for Chaos here. Looking at some of these the non-bonus matches, I think Javi probably has this one over AOT. Not sure about this one. Maybe JJ Sayer over Gabagoon?
Not super familiar with their skill levels.
Yeah, Gabagoon is like a very, very strong player in UPL. JJ Sayer, I feel like, is usually hanging out in the level 3 brackets. Maybe JJ Sayer would be this one. Indo versus I Am So Cool, probably Indo. I'm just going to burn through a couple of these and see if there's any that stand out. Zumpy Strom Carlin, that one's a little tough. Maybe Strom.
I think I saw they might be playing right now, actually.
Oh, you know what? They might be. I think I saw them scheduling. So we might get an update on this one.
I guess they'll be playing tonight, actually, now that I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fun. I'll try to catch that one. Manadog versus Fire Tip. I don't know. Manadog?
I'd probably... I don't know. I think I would put Fire Tip the favorite there.
Okay. I could go either way on this, so I can agree with you on that one. Fire Tip. Ronin versus Dopa. I think this one was a clear Ronin. And then Dead Dumble versus Trogdor. I think is going to be Trogdor. Dead Dumble, another player that's a GM StarCraft player or StarCraft 2 player that's come over to Brood War. But you know how we've been talking about 9K. 9K has been doing the Brood War thing for a little bit now. Did the last CPL season. I don't think he was completely a stranger to Brood War. Dead Dumble, I think right now is like brand new to Brood War. So we'll see how he does. I think Trogdor is favored here, but whenever a GM shows up from StarCraft 2, they get good quick, right? So
Mhm.
we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, really cool that there's so many StarCraft 2 players switching over. I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Chaos Unhinged. Okay, so let's. I know we're getting close to time, so let's kind of focus on some of these top matches. So Tim versus Nesh. After Tim's
Uh,
performance last week and Nesh's performance last week, I don't know where they're standing.
yeah, I think I don't know. This one I also feel like could go either way. Um, Nesh has been active for quite a while now, and he's like pretty like he grinds pretty consistently. So I think like he might be the favorite just because of his activity level. So I think it could go either way, but maybe I'll say 2-1 for Nesh.
Ooh, okay, okay. Then we got Kiko and Bayagster. No clue.
I think Hiko is probably the favorite there, but again, like I've only heard about what people say about Baxter, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
still
really
feeling him
know.
out too.
Yeah,
Okay. And then Dentarg versus I Am Slow. I feel like this one's just heavily favored Dentarg, and I think maybe we were saving players from Chaos to face off against Legion.
hmm
I don't know. I'm a little surprised to
yeah,
see I Am Slow here in the bonus matches.
yeah. It's weird. I guess I don't know. I feel like when everyone for Savage signs up, we don't really have to like throw anyone to the wolves, so to speak. Like I feel like our top six are all pretty solid. Um, it seems like that's not the case for other teams because we kind of see like well, not for unhinged and static, like or unhinged and savage, like unhinged, exit will fix G5, all really solid players. Um, but like at least in one of the matchups, it seems like everyone kind of like throws someone to the wolves in the +1 matches, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, Savage does have some really good depth. The roster is very strong. So I think that's a solid assessment there. Um, Erob versus Sklur. Maybe Erob. I think I would probably be favored here.
I would say Urab is the favorite there. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
Seeing
I'm actually surprised they didn't put Urab in the +1 match because I feel like Urab could take Dentard too, but who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I Am Slow. So in this situation, Unhinged placed first, right? So they placed Nesh. Then it was Tim Bayagster. They did Kiko Dentarg. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. That's really weird, right? Like they chose to throw I Am Slow here. Maybe they just wanted to make sure Erob got a 2-0 or something along those lines. And maybe
Yeah,
I Am Slow could take a map. But the bonus point is just such a big deal, you know? So
yeah. Puzzling. I don't know. I would like to hear what their strategy was with that.
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I could imagine is like a confirmed 2 points for Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it maths out, especially when we get to the bottom here. Like I'm just kind of cruising through. Least we're gonna see him show up. Good to see him playing. I don't know if he played last week. I don't remember seeing his name. Microlang taking two over on Badger. I just want to point out. I think Badger is like a really new player, and I love that he's getting some game time. Right, like he was in both first week and second week. Just grinding with his team, right? Like trying to get some map wins. But I think he's new. I think he's like true noob level in
Hmm.
the server, and so that's really cool. And then we look down here at the bottom, and unfortunately, now we didn't see this in week one, but this was totally something that we expected, and I think it's still okay because this will buff out over time. But Unhinged did not have enough to fill two slots, so they did start week two down 0-2 against both of their opponents, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I think is still fine and not an indicator that the season is unhealthy, so to speak.
Hmm. Yeah, of all the teams that I expected to have problems, it's unhinged. I think they only got like 40 players in the draft, so
Yeah, they have the lowest number of players on their roster by a few, by I think 5. I think Savage has like 32. I guess we can look honestly. So Savage has 31. Unhinged has 27. Oh, I guess Legion has the most with 32. So 5 player difference. You may feel, a couple of forfeits in the event that you can't field 20, right? Like that's a pretty high percentage of players.
Hmm.
However, we are seeing Exit for the first time from Unhinged, unable to show up or participate in week 1, is showing up for week 2. How is Exit's TVZ? Because Royo is no joke.
I messaged Royo and told him to inform Exit that he's Protoss because he doesn't play ZVT. He usually plays PvT. Um,
Mm,
I think he's listed as Zerg on the website just because he played a ZVP in the first week.
yeah. Yeah, it takes
Um,
your replays and assigns the race automatically based on that.
yeah, I think I would put Royo as the favorite. I mean, X is pretty good, and he is pretty active. I'm not sure how active Royo is, but Royo is just really solid. Um, Sometimes Exit just does goofy stuff. I don't know. I think it's another one of those matchups that could go either way, but I'd put Royo as my favorite there.
Okay. Now, this one I'm curious about. Wolfix Doodle. Wolfix Doodle has been kind of historically so far in Skull, kind of like the two powers, the immovable object and the unstoppable force clashing against each other. But Doodle made Wolfix bleed, right? Wolfix has lost a few games here. So he lost to Dragon, which was a TVP, right? During the bounty match. So Dragon got a payout for that. And then following that, in one of the brackets, I think it was maybe the number 4, number 5 money bracket, Doodle actually beat Wolfix, and I think it was 2-0. They're facing
Yeah.
off again in another bracket, and they're facing off here. So these two are very familiar with each other. It seems to be going either way. What are your thoughts on when it matters here for this week?
So I think it depends on how the games shake out. I think Wolfix is better in the early game, but um, I think Doodle just has a better late game, honestly, and
Mm,
his style with the, like his shuttle PvT style with like relentless storm drops, um, is like really hard to deal with, and he executes it really, really well. So I probably would say Doodle is favored here. Um,
that's wild to hear.
yeah,
I feel like we've been like 3 weeks or 3 months of just like Wolfix is unstoppable, and now we're favoring Doodle in this matchup.
yeah. Um, I think Wilfix is a little shook because of his recent loss. Um, I don't think he's super confident going into it. So
Well, we'll have to see. I think you bring up a good point. Wolfix, his early game is a lot of fun to watch. He is a very exciting early game Terran because if there's any opening, like he's gonna exploit the crap out of it. So I think if Doodle can keep safe, right? Not let him squirrel his way in with his vultures, not let him bring the boys if he's gonna do a Nexus first or anything like that, and shut down any type of really early aggressive pressure from Wolfix.
mhm.
Maybe you're right. Maybe Doodle might take this. The next one's G5 static PvP. We already heard G5's thoughts. He's like, I don't know, fuck it, it's PvP. I think that's a
Yeah.
quote. All right.
Um, Honestly, I for the same reason I kind of like because it's PvP, I'm not really sure. I would probably put G5 um advantaged here again because he's my buddy and he's really good in his own right, but like I feel like Static has had some like crazy good upsets and results and stuff. And I think Static is also pretty cheesy and unpredictable, so that just
Oh.
increases the volatility of the matchup even more, right?
Yeah, that and G5 is intimidated by the MVP sticker, right? The
Yeah,
awards matter, people. Chase these
yeah.
awards because they can intimidate your opponent. I have to ask you, right? Memnon. I imagine you feel confident against Memnon.
I'm pretty confident. I don't really know that much about how Memnon plays, but I don't really think that I need to. No offense to Memnon, but yeah,
I
I
think
think
it'd
it's
be
cool.
similar feel to how when you played Abji. I think
Okay.
that that'll be
Yeah, well, in that case, then it should go pretty smoothly for me.
okay. Kid Buu versus Hazareth. This one should be interesting.
Um, I don't know a thing about Kid Buu, but I think Hazarath is actually pretty solid. So I'm just gonna. I mean,
Hazard's
he's on my
super
team.
solid. He's kind of like he's kind of like you, right? Like you're like the baseline. Hey, if you beat Keen, you're good, right? And if you don't beat Keen, then you're not good. Hazard's kind of like that. He's like the good Protoss, right? Like if you
Yeah.
beat Hazareth like as a Protoss, okay, you're up in the bonus match area. But he's kind of like that line. Kid Buu, I feel like I don't know if I've watched enough of his games. I feel like I know Kid Buu through reputation on the brackets. I feel like in the SCU brackets, Kid Buu shows up, beats some ass, and then just moves on. But like I don't think I've ever really casted them or watched them. So I'll have to make a point of watching some Kid Buu games, especially this one,
Mhm.
because I have a feeling this one's going to be a good fight. I think this one's going to be a good fight.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to check it out when it's finished.
Yeah. And Mr. Peanut Butter, as we already mentioned, going random. Um, I don't know if IJ is going to be going random. If not,
Does he
we can
normally?
expect some Terran. Hmm?
Like, does he? Is that a thing that he does?
He can. I know people in UPO were joking about it, but I don't know.
He just.
Oh, really? Okay, Mevius is saying Hazarath is strongly favored. Okay, I might be misgauging Gidbu's skill level then. Okay, fair enough. I'll still check it out. Then we got Champion versus Melodved. I think Champion has that one. And then Shimmer getting a walkover of the empty slot from Unhinged. And that brings us to the end of the week. So overall, it's tough. We weren't really tallying things. And I don't really think any of these stood out as hey, this team is going to win this week against this other team.
No, and I know you mentioned that there's still like 4 weeks left, right? But again, I feel like so many of these matchups could go either way, and I'm at least hoping that all the matches are going to be kind of close because I think that makes things more exciting. So I
Yeah,
think it's kind of like the system working as intended so far. Um,
I'm really happy with it. That's for sure. I think we may have cracked the code on how to do the round robin portion. And what I really want to see is, let's say things continue the way they are. Let's say every week it's kind of like the Savage, Chaos Legion, Unhinged in that order, kind of, like path going forward. The delta is going to get larger and larger. I'm waiting to see if these teams gang up on each other, right? Because we're still seeing really good matchups on both sides. But what if, let's say, Legion versus Savage, Unhinged versus Savage, let's say Chaos isn't really the risk here for being number one seed, and Savage is. Like, when's that day where Legion takes these guys and stacks this entire bottom portion with these guys, takes the hit on Chaos to deny wins for Savage? Same thing here, right? Unhinged has a pretty good roster, just like every team. What if they take these, throw them down here against Savage? Then Savage has to fight on two fronts, right? And I'm just using Savage as an example because they're leading the way right now. But I could see
yeah,
that happening in later weeks in order to secure the number one seed in the finals. Because I was looking at finals in season one with the gauntlet format, the seeds really mattered. Like, if you were first seed, you were in the grand finals, right? Like, it was a
hmm
big deal, too big of a deal. In this one, really what you're fighting for is, if you're first seed, you fight the fourth seed. Like, that's really the prize, right? You want to be the team fighting the team that is performing the worst, as opposed to one where it could go either way. So I'm curious to how seriously the teams are going to take it, or if there's an opportunity for that in like weeks 4, 5, and 6.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, that I didn't really think about trying to like gang up on players against one team. That is an interesting variable. I feel like I don't know. Yeah, I guess if there's a clear front runner, maybe that might become an option. But I think we would probably only see that in maybe the second to last or maybe the last week.
Yeah, and it would have to be
Uh,
pretty extreme too, because
yeah,
you still got to make points, right? Like, denial is one piece, but you still got to catch some wins. Right? You can't
yeah,
give up everything to chaos and then just let them jump up 3 slots.
yeah. Like, so it would. most likely to succeed, it would require two teams to kind of work together in that regard. Um, and I mean, it's a snake draft, so like we can play reactively anyway, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I suspect that it's going to keep being pretty close, actually.
I right
It,
now that seems to be the case, and I think as the seasons continue and things start leveling out with the economy, with contracts being finished and players moving between teams kind of organically, I think that we're slowly getting to the point where we're finding a format that's working. And so yeah, so far I'm really happy about it. Going through, we can already see here, right? Like Savage Legion, every match that's taken place has been 2-1. That's fun to see, right? I like seeing
mhm.
2-1s. I don't like seeing 2-0s. At least not on the scale, like some of these where where is it like right here? Like that seems like a bummer, right? Like something happened here.
Yeah,
Um
critical
but yeah,
failure.
that's all I've got for tonight. Any thoughts from you, Keen? Is there anyone in the
No,
Discord?
I'm good. Now everyone seems to have left.
Excellent. They're letting us do our thing. All right, man. Well, this was great. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I like this. This is a lot of fun. And I know that there's people in the server that like the nerdy aspect, the sports analysis, the fantasy
Yeah,
aspect of really just a bunch of versus one series, right? Like that's all this is. This is just a bunch of StarCraft games put in a weird format, so we can have more fun talking about it. But yeah,
yeah,
round two is set to be a great time.
for sure. I do hope somewhere in the future, um, maybe we can, even if it's just like fake money or something, like a different currency than SC bucks. Like if we could make some kind of betting system,
Everyone wants to gamble. Everyone wants their
I love
gamba.
gambling, man.
Yeah, I mean,
But
there's a long list of things I'd like to incorporate. Obviously, the end goal would be actual money going to teams. I think that that's like the end goal, right? But in
yeah,
between here and there, something that we've discussed a good number of times was like player wallets, right? So like if you're earning
mhm,
Scubucks for a team, maybe the player gets their own wallet of currency that they can use for silly things, right? Like Gamba. But the thing is the number of silly things to use this fake currency for, there's not that many. Like some people kind of like brought stuff up, like cosmetic things for the Discord server. I'm like, I mean, that's not that cool. Like, do people really want to turn their name purple? Like that kind of just confuses the server. Um, maybe there's just like, and it can't be things that like alter the game, right? You can't have like pay 100 SCU bucks,
no,
uh, pick a new map, right? From the starting map or something like that. You can't have things like that. So it would all just be fake microtransactions, but we don't have things to do microtransactions on. So anyway, maybe it's just a pure gambling wallet and we go from there. But
people just like gambling. It's healthier. It would be healthier than sports betting. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Then people are going to start throwing games. We'll have inside, you know, freaking deals going on. It'll be a whole shit show. Then we can have a whole drama segment that we can add to this.
yeah.
But all right, so that's gonna be it. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's go ahead and rate our boy Ozzy. I didn't see him on here. Is he playing this upcoming week?
No, he hasn't signed up, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, he's like
Because he's been
actually
playing more
didn't
lately.
sign up. Well, he played last week. He 2-0'd Erob, but I guess he took this week off for Savage. So kind of a bummer for
He's a
you
man
guys.
who
He is a very strong
he,
player.
re- he, he really likes his sleep and rest. So
Hey, that's a responsible man right there. And I
yeah,
know he's been doing a lot of work with the Coliseum, doing like show match casting and stuff like that. We'll rate him right now. Go ahead and say hi to him. He's actually playing a couple games for his exit at the moment. Another player that we mentioned right here on Unhinged. So you'll get to see two Skull players facing off, and both of them very high level. So anyway, have a good night.
all right, cool.
Almost done.